All right. Well, while I'm waiting for the update to go through, I might as well just go through the monthly report, roadmap roundup, and get my thoughts on it. And then also see there. Looks like they also did. Looks like they also pushed back their maintenance, which is good to hear. It looks like we got it for tomorrow. And then also want to do some fun things with the Rylan. So I'll probably have to split this up into 2 videos. So here we go. All right. Wait, update's done? Nice. All right. Well, still gonna go through this. Hey, what's up? This is Warbotniks, and also thank you guys for the amazing support as well. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting and subscribing my videos. This is actually the first time I actually sort of asked for it in a while. Since I came back to YouTube, so greatly appreciate it. Now, I'm sure a lot of you already have gone through the roadmap roundup with other creators, so I'm a little late to the party, but I do want to see and go through it too, and see if there's anything I can add to the conversation. If not, you guys can go ahead and click away at any time. This is just me waking up to this. Granted, though, it's like 10:45 p.m. I just woke up after a massive work day, so don't tell them. Yeah. All right, let's get started. All right. So, just right off the bat, we can definitely see that this is the Siege of Orison locations all over again. Unfortunately, we got Charles here licking the floor. There's not chocolate down there. And let's see, from what I understand from all the thumbnails I saw, it looks like instancing for Siege of Orison is going to be the thing for that, which actually is honestly, I think good overall for Star Citizen. I know that conversation's pretty ongoing amongst the community, but as long as it's not overly used for it makes sense for highly narrative missions. So tactical strike groups might be another good one for instancing, just to help with stability and also QV breaker stations to keep exploits out. All right, let's go. All right, AI content. Following the launch of Alpha 4.8, the AI content team began closing out tasks for Alpha 4.9 and beyond. Alongside the usual bug fixes and ongoing initiatives from the previous months, the team looked into technical fixes to help streamline the process for adding content into the game. Usual bug fixes. I guess for marketing purposes. AI features and tech. On the animation side, significant work went towards mass retargeting male to female combat AI assets with additional support for unconscious and bleeding out behaviors. Alright, so male to female combat AI assets. So what this tells me is that they're going to start probably separating some asset libraries for both male and female NPCs to pull from. So we'll probably have to see different animations for male and female, as well as probably some different maybe walking and behavior cues as well. So that's good to hear, because if I'm understanding it, I think some of the female NPCs either don't have a voice or they mistakenly have the male voice lines, except distorted to make them sound ambiguous. All right, let's see here. The devs also made track views for an upcoming event and restructured how melee attacks are tweaked for NPCs with large attack sets. Now, this actually is quite interesting. I actually read this part a little bit at work, and that tells me that this could be either for Fauna or the Vandal. More than likely, this is probably the Vandal, because we have seen in the past where Vandal NPC attack strike animation files and calls in the coding were found in there. So we might start seeing Vandal enemies, and we do see their character avatars as art assets right now. in Nyx. So yeah, let's go. All for it. I do want to see some more aliens. Let's do this. Prototypes were then implemented for the Valakar. For example, the team simplified the setup of burrowing animation types, fixed the path patching to improve movement along dynamically generated positions, and improve the API for tracking damage to NPCs to trigger motive actions. Burrowing animation times to fix the path patching to improve movement along dynamically generated positions. So this is kind of like Monster Hunter, where the monster can basically, to give the illusion, like early Monster Hunter anyway, where it can give the illusion that the monsters were moving from sector to sector, so we can see it on the map. Here, to help simplify it, so that this saves resources and effort for the devs to basically have the monster migrate between each fights. So this is probably that, where it'll burrow down, and then there'll be an illusion that it's going to be moving to a set location in this area that it can come back out. So basically it's moving from arena to arena, more than likely. Let me see here. Because we can't have the Valakar be as disruptive as we want it. Although that'd be kind of cool to just pop up at Shubin Mining Center and everyone's just moving cargo, and we're like, remove the armistice, we're screwed. All right. Improved API for tracking damage for NPCs to trigger motive actions. So this is probably assigning different animations depending on the stage it's at and how much damage is taken all at once through burst and sustained. So that's probably what I'm thinking. So they're making pretty much Monster Hunter in space at this point, based off what I'm reading here. They also refactored how AI triggered states work and improved debug shortcuts for controlling time and teleporting. Okay, so I guess it's kind of like the Yormandi. Every time we remove one of those those electric swords, the Yormandi does an animation, or supposed to, but because of the server being so bad, we don't see it trigger in a timely fashion. So if this is what I think it is, improved debug shortcuts, meaning that they may bring the animation client side and sort of sync back up, maybe? I'm not too sure. We'll have to see on that one. Last month, the animation team progressed with the Apex Valakar, fleshing out various additional attacks and animations. They also captured new enter and exit animation for upcoming ships alongside work for a new full-body mission giver who will have her own place in the verse. The animation team progressed with the Apex Valakar, so I'm guessing it's up top here, fleshing out various additional attacks and animations. Check, that's pretty standard. They also captured new enter and exit animation for upcoming ships alongside work for a new full-body mission giver. Alright, so this one is separate. Who wrote this sentence? Captured new enter and exit animations. So that's probably for the new ships and vehicles. Because I do know that for the UTV, they had to mocap the entry and exit. Let's see, full-body mission giver. That's probably Reko, from what I understand, and who will have her own place in the verse. Maybe. This might, it could be Reko or someone new. We'll see. Facial animation team processed a significant amount of new content from April Performance Capture Shoot, which will appear in Alpha 4.9. As this content will be split across comms calls and in-person interactions, it was processed at different quality tiers to ensure that everything players see close up will really shine. Okay, so hopefully I kind of see sometimes that the comm calls we get, they appear more like freaking stockpot bits, and other times the animations are decent, and other times they kind of remind me of the most recent Mass Effect Andromeda game, where the faces were just very badly animated. All right. The team was excited to see players' reactions to the return of Recopataglia. So it may not be the same. It may not be the same mission giver as mentioned earlier, or it could be just different. They just wrote this at different times. As this will be the first instance of an old character returning to the verse with new content missions, a lot has changed within the pipeline since her debut, so this will be the first time players will be able to draw immediate comparisons. Facial Animations also held 2 performance capture shoots with the narrative and the motion capture teams, which will cover content for Alpha 4.9 and 4.10. Oh, we're already talking about 4.10. Let's go. All right, art. That's the big one, and I'm going to definitely put a bookmark here. May's Defense Con. So many of the ship's team's recent projects flyable to the PU, including the Aegis Tiburon, the Hammerhead's Gold Standard, the Origin M80, the Miss Starlight, and the Drake Pickbull, Ironclad Assault, and Command Module. The team also delivered the Vandal Mauler as part of the tactical strike groups alongside the numerous flight blades and weapon kits. Well, you guys already know my thoughts about the mess that Defense Con was. Like, cool, straight to fly. We are definitely going to have to discuss how they're going to need to handle straight to flyable going forward, because as much as we enjoy a surprise, it's spoiled anyway by leaks, to be honest, so whatever. All right. Yeah, so honestly, if before they start dropping ships, I really hope at least the new ships. Actually, you know what they should do is... Oh, you know what? I'll leave that for something else. All right, moving on. Elsewhere, the Gattac Ryland passed its gray box review before progressing into LD0 with a combined LD0 and final gate review scheduled for early June. Significant progress was also made on a related yet unannounced ship. So, it is now early June, and it is so it's currently the 4th, and this video is coming out on the 5th. Yeah, 4.8.2. Better have the Ryland available for testing for at least over a week. As soon as 0.1 comes out, 0.2 better be in PTU, and these ships better be available for testing to at least get some of the get rid of like the first like couple of like major issues found before coming out. This thing here, the animation itself, I can see being a problem. Just saying. Alright, 4 other upcoming vehicles in continued development too. The first received custom mocap for its enter and exit animations, alright, as mentioned earlier. Alright. Creating unique challenges due to its scale before its gray box review at the end of the month. I wonder if it's referring to... So vehicles can, like, they've used vehicles to reference either ships or vehicles. Now that we know how that's the terminology they've been using. I know that the Alpha Wolf and the Wolf had to use like a custom mocap and running along the wing. I'm wondering if this is for the Stingray and a couple other, and probably like a land vehicle or two. You know, it'd be kind of cool that they haven't done much of would be the Rangers for the bikes. I know we have whatchamacallit, hover bikes, but basically getting on and off an actual land motorbike does have its own sort of like animations, but they said something about scale, so maybe it is an actual ship or a larger ground vehicle. All right. Production on the second kicked off with a small team starting work towards the white box gate plan in the middle of June. All right. The third continued down the pipeline, while the fourth saw the UK team collaborating with their North American counterparts to ensure the art direction aligns with the brand's other new releases. I think North American team is doing like the alien ships, right? With resources freed up following Defense Con. Thank God. Pre-production picked up for the Anvil Liberator. Woo! With the start of White Box scheduled for the end of the month. As part of this, an update was made to the interior to allow for quicker entry and exit to the landing pads. Yes! Let's take a quick look, actually. All right, hold on. Let me find the interior really quick. All right. So, if they're smoothing out the Liberator's entry and exit to the landing pad. So this is the landing pad Landing pad access. So this is the internal pad. And that's the one. So up there is the top pad. So 2 beds. So this is the second floor. So this is where the cockpit is, and so this is the bridge and the crew quarters up top here. This is straight to the landing pads. So let me see here. My best guess is that they are going to add some sort of elevator or ladder. And this is just immediate, like, just guesswork, right next to where the cargo space is, to climb up and get in up here. I am looking at the landing pad access, the hallway, and then they have like the little cutout here, and then they're probably trying to add some sort of like easy access, like ladder up there, because I don't see anywhere else in here unless, no, this is the elevator shaft right here. So I'm wondering if they're going to point the okay, so they may allow the elevator shaft to be entered through the internal landing pad. But wait, well, I don't want to dive too much into it, but we'll definitely look into it later. All right, keep going. Lastly, on the UK side, the RSI Galaxy continued through White Box as further revisions were made to the layout through central docking collar, habs, bridge, and lift area to ensure clear flow from any direction. Alright. As mentioned above, the North American team progressed with an unannounced ship, which passed its gray box review with flying colors. Following this, the LOD-0 phase began, with the ship coming together following preliminary lighting pass. Really, I mean, lighting's been kind of messed up, to be honest. Alright. So more than likely we're going to be seeing that next month. So not June, but probably July. And I think Founders Festival is in July, so it more than likely could be a two-manned ship. Alright. Finally, the Drake Kraken continued through its gray box phase with further changes to the hero rooms to utilize more of the Drake kit used in the Ironclad. This will save both production time and increase the optimization for this huge ship. Looking good, guys. I can see up there, the top left corner, the landing pads. This is the pylon up front, and this is the bow section up top here. So it is looking sweet. This like light beam right here, like the spotlight, kind of reminds me of the Cutter and the Argo Moths, like lights. So yeah, definitely very industrial. It's coming together, looks great. I have a Kraken myself, so that was like my biggest like, all right, we're done. All right, art. Weapons. In May, the weapons team ensured their content was ready for Alpha 4.8, including the Castic Arms Plasma Grenade and Ultiflex Novian Crossbow, and a handful of skins for upcoming events. All right, cool. Meanwhile, the team progressed with a new large caliber weapon that's currently in gray box. New tech is also in the works that will require cross-team collaboration over the next couple months. Material polish, passes, and update existing weapons to progress too. All right, so we actually kind of have an idea what this is. The new large caliber weapon. So let's go ahead and pause here because I'm not going to do too much of the community stuff. But if we go over to the roadmap roundup, they mentioned the Suver Combat Heavy Armor, which a lot of us have seen already on social media, implementing the Super Heavy Armor class, enabling players to equip and operate a new category of powerful super heavy weapons, meaning that we're going to probably see weapons like missile pods, massive chain guns, Railgun 2.0, and all that. So basically just short of size 1 like weapons from ships. I mean, it'd be kind of funny if we were just carrying our freaking Bulldog repeater in hand. Because the Apocalypse Arms Vendetta Heavy Machine Gun, implementing a brand new weapon type, the Heavy Machine Gun with Apocalypse Arms Vendetta HMG. Belt fed and usable with the new super heavy armor and its dedicated ammunition backpack. It delivers sustained high rate fire from a large rotating barrel carrying up to 4 magazines of ammunition. So, I like this. So, this tells me that the super heavy weapon armor class is going to have to make some choices with what kind of equipment it wants to put on its backpack. So if you want to use this heavy machine gun to get the most out of it, you're going to have to give up storage in the back and basically have it just store ammunition. Or ammunition instead of carrying, like, loot and stuff. Because more than likely, super heavy armor class is probably going to have a 50% and, dare I say, maybe even 70% like damage mitigation, just to make it viable. Because I can see this being a slow juggernaut of a freaking unit there. All right, moving on. Community. I'm probably going to skip all this, but basically talking about Title Strike groups, Defense Con, Twitch drops, referrals, screenshots, and all that fun jazz, and the Bar Citizen World Tour, yada yada yada. I'm gonna skip all this. So, all right, economy. All right, this is actually kind of important. Alpha 4.8 saw the introduction of 2 major economy features: ship insurance adjustments and player-crafted items. Consumable prices were also adjusted, and components now have a wider price range, with prices of grade A military components in particular being adjusted upward to get more of a sense of progression. The devs also increased the sale price of components so that the salvagers can capitalize on any high-tier components they come across. Oh, okay. So someone did mention that they they are noticing an increase in sale prices, but it's still not enough from what I understand. All right. The data aggregation pipelines were broadened, resulting in several mission archetypes receiving a balance pass based on player behavior data. To support future economy updates, the team began standardizing the price and volume brackets of crafting resources. They're also working on new ways to make the resource, commodity, and trading system more intuitive and transparent for players. I wonder if they're mentioning maybe selling 500 quality or 600 quality at certain shops to set a baseline price that for players to compete with or use as a reference point. So for example, let's just say a 500 quality iron, typically for one SCU of it is about 1,000, and Hephaestonite's typically 2,000. So players, whenever they're selling sort of around 700 or something, they'll just use as a reference, okay, so technically anyone can buy a 600 or 500 Hephaestonite for this price. Okay, we'll sell it for 4,000, which is actually fine. Able to sort of set some sort of baseline for to give the pre-perceived value is a good idea. So at least it sets some expectations. On the shop implementation side, okay, here we go. The team supported DefenseCon by setting up new shop. Oh, you had me. What? I was really hoping for player shops. Curse you. The team supported DefenseCon by setting up new shop items, including commemorative hats and t-shirts, blah, 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 blah. Flight blades, ew. Flight suits, okay. And vehicles. When's the Kruger flight suit coming? Seriously. This allowed all the items on display within the expo hall and lobby to physically spawn, be interactive, and purchasable. The team even redressed the coffee-to-go concession stand to fit the DefenseCon theme. Lastly, with the introduction of flight suits, a pass was done on some of the existing shops across the PU to ensure 2 of them could be purchased. Okay, first of all, we still are losing our hands and feet. And we're missing that, the mesh of the apparatus up front, as well as the back back plate. So our weapons and our backpacks are literally floating on our backs, and we literally have freaking Houdini hands up front, which is kind of weird. But I did also loot a Tailwind flight suit from a box, and that didn't have that problem. So it's usually it's actually the ones that you buy from the store that were having those problems. This is, yeah, so something's up. Graphics, VFX, and programming and planet tag. All right, maybe we'll start seeing some Genesis stuff here. All right, majority of the graphics team focused on optimization throughout May, making significant improvements that will come at a later date. All right, actually, to be honest, I've heard like mixed results with the graphics overall. So I've seen people have like some of the smoothest like gameplay in terms of graphics, aside from server stability, and others just not so much. So let me know if how you guys are taking it. Alongside this, the team further optimized and refined the visuals for global illumination systems, in addition to adding depth output support to all parallax mapped surfaces, which allows them to benefit from our full rendering feature set, such as screen space shadows, reflectors, and directional occlusion. I can't really say much about this one, so forgive me for unable to like go over that one a little bit more than usual. All right, next, Planetech team made large strides with Genesis as they looked to close up the last element of the core technology and moved on to polished performance and stability tasks. Recent work focused on critical pieces of technology like GPU object spotting, the virtual terrain cache, imposter rendering, and the spawning of creatures and minables on V5 planets. Alongside this, the team continued to iterate on visual quality while ensuring performance is kept in check. All right, cool. So that tells me that they are just about getting too close to done with starting to implement the first couple of V5 planets. So there was, of course, the hint that in September is when we're going to see Nyx 1, that's definitely going to be Alpha 4.10. All right. Mission design. Last month, the mission design team progressed with Rico Battaglia. They also work closely with narrative and core gameplay to ensure the mission provider interaction flow is as desired for the initial release. Sorry, I lost my place there. Progress was made on the redesign of an existing event that aims to push the boundaries of what is possible within a single instance. The original was designed around combat, but as the game has grown and matured, the team were now able to tap into new methods of gameplay choices. I guess multi-stage missions, and it doesn't have to just be spawning waves in combat. It could be also like, turn off this like defuse the bomb or something. Or download data. The team also focused on creating a faction focused on non-combat gameplay from Star Citizen's 1.0 plan. Non-combat gameplay. Industry? Racing? That'd be kind of cool, actually. If we're like facing like different race teams. Elsewhere, the municipal works are currently going through mission blockouts to get it into a first playable state. Once the design is signed off, full production can begin. So Municipal Works is probably going to be the first sort of I don't know if anyone played the Division 2, where we go underground and it will procedurally generate each stage with different assets and pieces to create like an infinite dungeon. So I wonder if this is the first stages of that. All right. Narrative. As mentioned in last month's report, the narrative team also held a performance capture session, which not only brought back a familiar face, Battaglia probably, but also recorded lines for a revamped existing mission. They also captured content as NPC encountered during refueling gameplay, allow them to expand the variety of voices heard in those missions. Okay. Narrative team also began adding a variety of contracts that will bring more gameplay to the verse, not only for upcoming events, but for some expanded evergreen missions as well. Alright. We'll see. Additionally, they created lore for new harvestable flora, wrote scripts for several new mission providers, including solidifying the narrative of their organizations, and provide support for both the UI and environmental team art. Okay, so basically they're building out a lot of the environmental storytelling, just like the Division. Thanks to all the players reporting issues as they find them, the team has been knocking out recently discovered narrative bugs as quickly as possible, with many small quality of life fixes expected to make their way into Alpha 4.9. Online technologies, so this is going to probably be a big one because pretty much a majority of the issues we are facing are server-side issues. In May, the online services team continues their work on several key player-facing features, including the social chat and MVP features. Social tools! Thank you. Which is being built to enable in-game text communication between players. Alongside this, the social systems pipeline continues to grow with friends, online presence, party viewer, and orgs. Each formally tracked are upcoming deliverables for future milestones. So we're only just sort of building up the pipeline of like what stages of how they want to like start pumping this out. So that tells me that it's in its like infancy a little bit. So all right, so we're out of the conception stage and into the infancy stage. All right, the first iteration of item recovery was included in alpha 4.8. The team is currently supporting this feature with more improvements coming in the future. Planning also kicked off for the maglock system as part of the item recovery feature set. All right, so the maglock system is something that they reference for whenever you put an SCU, it gets on the grid. That's a maglock grid. Basically, if I'm interpreting this correctly, things in those little areas that are so those places that we can put our boxes in there, as well as potentially suit lockers, we can start adding them to the item recovery insurance snapshot, which would be awesome because that would help flesh out, like, save so much time and prep time and prep work, so that like if we lose a Polaris or something, I do not have to freaking resupply and just freaking do the freaking laundry of moving armor and flight suits into the suit lockers each time. Maybe somebody would prefer that. Go ahead and claim the free one, but I rather just pay that extra, I don't know, 3,000 plus per armor set to just get out there and go. All right, a significant focus in May was to address live game stability issues tied to the contract system. You sure about that? Because in 4.8, the contract system came out not working. The team identified that the current contract system generates far too many database entries, causing overloads and performance instability for players. You don't say! 2 critical tasks were created to reduce the number of database entries and improve how contracts are filtered. I really wish they explained this to us when we were having that issue. Like, that is another thing too, and we need to talk about how CIG like freaking communicates. Like if they actually mention this right here, you don't see my hands, but I am literally putting up freaking brackets with my freaking my fingers here on this this one right here. They needed to say that like within like a week of within like 4 or 5 days, or when they notice the issue, because at least that's an answer they can give to players rather than freaking rather than letting the players use their imaginations and let that freaking narrative run rampant into Reddit. All right. The team also tackled reliability improvements to mission rewards and is putting better diagnostic tools in place, making it faster to identify and fix issues with missions and contracts not appearing. The live tools team continues to deliver improvements across all their key tools while also shipping several notable releases. Okay, so that's probably for the tools team here. For Hex, the team released version 3.39, which introduced new player support capabilities. Updates include improved entitlement tracking and expanded account ownership view and more. Okay. A follow-up release, 3.39.1, kept Hex's blueprint data in sync with the latest services. Okay, so this is sort of like how it's keeping track of what's in our hangar, what we're earning in game. That's going to be account bound. All right, good to know. Throughout the month, work continued on Hex 4.0 redesign, including a new design system and UX foundation that will shape all future Hex modules, until 5.0, where they have to redesign it again. On the Bootstrap side, The team continued reliability work through the month, addressing developer-facing issues like server failures, performance bottlenecks, and configuration problems. The technical plan for a full Bootstrap client overhaul was kicked off and now moving from research to design implementation planning. So this tells me that the team recognized that the servers were not able to handle the loads, or the servers need to be reconfigured. Okay. Again, this should have been communicated to us not through a monthly report, but through a dev letting us know this is what we're facing, this is what we're doing. Set the expectation. Yes, you're gonna get players like, all right, well, I'm not playing this patch. Sure. But at least this tells me that you are on it and aware of it. All right. May saw the R&D team implement tweakable, approximate multi-scattering gas clouds similar to multi-scatter's solution used for planet clouds. This smoothly blends between forward and backward scattering, driving the phase function depending on the visibility of the light source of given the sample points. Okay. Support began for lookup tables in the Ray Marcher to recolor gas clouds based on their local density. The Ray Marcher loop was further optimized by skipping significant sampling and lighting work at locations where density amounts to 0. Additional optimization will speed up noise LOD calculations, as well as making the target opacity threshold of clouds configurable. That kind of makes sense, because usually with clouds in atmosphere, the light source is usually up top. There's not a whole lot of light sources coming from below, and also a whole lot of light sources coming from below, and also in space, basically clouds generally behave much more differently than within atmosphere, so that makes sense. All right. Furthermore, numerous fixes and improvements were made to the integration of an experimental temporal upsampler borrowed from planet clouds. Lastly, out of bounds writes in the cloud gas ray marches were fixed for Vulcan alongside a sporadic GPU hang due to the introduction of non-linear stepping, which is mentioned in April P report. I wonder if this has anything to do with the weird, like, freezes that sometimes I get whenever, like, new assets were, like, just rounding a corner or something, or loading in for the first time. Or is that more like cache sampling? I'm not too sure on that one. But good to know that at least something with GPU hanging is mentioned here. Let me see here. So I'll just quickly go over what's left of the roadmap roundup, and then we'll call this video a day. All right. Alpha 4.9, CJ Orson added. We knew that's coming back. Nothing needs to be said. Instancing. Implementing instancing to create closed gameplay spaces with controlled access, and access is managed through instance prerequisites, party leader ownership, and safeguards that prevent or remove ineligible players. Again, use this where it makes sense. So if it's highly like scripted or narrative driven like content for like story and stuff, fine, that's great. But for like other things, I would say like Hathor probably would be one of them. You don't have to put instancing in there. Just, you can leave that alone. All right, super heavy combat armor. Implementing super heavy armor class, as we mentioned before, enabling players to equip and operate a new category of large super heavy weapons. So the Apocalypse heavy arms machine gun, we already went over that, don't need to talk about that. Combat, which is basically just you are now the heavy from Team Fortress 2. Combat clothing. Okay, now this actually I did see that I was really hoping for. Implementing lightly armored apparel designed to offer a more stylish look while remaining viable in combat situations. So those like sort of like armored jackets or like padded jackets we've been getting from the Alliance event or something. I forget what it's called, AA event. Like I think those were like the first ones that are going to be implemented to have defensive stats, so that and as we get suit lockers, we can quickly swap between them, so that we can move faster and still have some utility to carry gadgets and stuff. New Wicklow ship offerings, adding a Drake Clipper with a unique base livery. Alright. And upgraded components as a reward for completing a new addition of variety of available Wicklow's Emporium contracts. Honestly, this doesn't really this doesn't really matter to me because I have never done Wicklow stuff. It just feels like a hassle. Mission giver Recco Battaglia, implementing a returning NPC to persistent universe. Alright, great, she is returning. Okay, so yeah, there's a little snippet of the heavy machine gun. Alright then. Oh, that's it. Alright, well that's the monthly report, and that's almost 45 minutes of your time if you've listened to this long. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the verse.